Why Russia and China sacrificed Ethiopia to protect Eritrea for decades. The geopolitical rulebook of East Africa was written with a single, absolute certainty. Ethiopia was the undisputed heavyweight anchor of the Horn of Africa. It was the nation with 120 million people, a booming diplomatic hub, and the undisputed golden child for global superpowers looking to secure a foothold in Africa. Eritrea, by contrast, was the isolated pariah state, heavily sanctioned and completely cut off. But over the last several months, a quiet, ruthless realignment has completely flipped the Red Sea chessboard. Ethiopia, now trapped in a crushing economic crisis, a sovereign debt default, and violent internal insurgencies, finds itself systematically encircled. And the ultimate architects of this containment are not who you think. In a calculated move of pure realpolitik, Moscow and Beijing have quietly made a choice. They have allowed their historic, multi-billion-dollar relationship with Ethiopia to fracture, placing their bets entirely on Eritrea. Why would the world's two largest revisionist powers sacrifice East Africa's biggest population center to protect the tiny, heavily militarized coastal state? The answer lies in a high-stakes game of naval choke points, critical mineral monopolies, and a brutal new Cold War frontier where landlocked giants are discarded and coastal gatekeepers rule. To understand why Russia and China shifted their allegiance, we first have to look at the spectacular internal unraveling of Ethiopia. For over a decade, Beijing poured billions of dollars into Addis Ababa, financing the massive Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, cross-border railways, and industrial parks. Ethiopia was supposed to be China's ultimate economic trophy in Africa. But the catastrophic two-year civil war in Tigray destroyed that reality, costing the country an estimated $28 billion in damage. Just look at the financial numbers. The fallout was absolute. In late 2023, Ethiopia did something unthinkable for a regional hegemon. It officially defaulted on its sovereign debt. To survive, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government had to accept a harsh $3.4 billion IMF bailout, which forced the country to float the Ethiopian birr. Almost overnight, the currency lost over 50% of its value, triggering runaway inflation and massive civil unrest in the Amhara and Oromia regions. Desperate to distract from this economic collapse and escape Djibouti's crippling $2 billion annual port monopoly, Abiy Ahmed made a reckless geopolitical gamble. In January 2024, Ethiopia signed a controversial memorandum of understanding with Somaliland, trying to lease a 20-kilometer strip of coastline for a sovereign naval base. Abiy Ahmed thought this bold move would project Ethiopian power into the Red Sea. Instead, it was the exact trigger that forced Moscow and Beijing to realize that Ethiopia was no longer a stable anchor. It had become a loose cannon. The moment Ethiopia touched the Somaliland deal, it walked directly into a geopolitical trap. Somalia viewed the deal as a direct violation of its sovereignty. Egypt, already locked in a bitter water dispute with Ethiopia over the Nile Dam, saw a golden opportunity to strike back. But the real kinetic anchor of this response was Eritrea. In a flurry of asymmetric diplomacy, Eritrea, Egypt, and Somalia formalized a powerful tripartite alliance. Egypt began flying heavy weaponry, air defense systems, and military personnel directly into Mogadishu, right onto Ethiopia's eastern flank. Simultaneously, Cairo and Asmara signed a massive maritime transport pact, establishing a unified shipping line linking Egyptian and Eritrean ports across the Red Sea. Look at the geometry of this alliance, with Eritrea anchoring the northern entry to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and Somalia controlling the outer edge of the Indian Ocean. Ethiopia's proposed naval base was militarily boxed in before a single brick could be laid. Eritrea effectively built a coastal wall. For Russia and China, the math became blindingly simple. Ethiopia has the population, but Eritrea holds the actual real estate that commands 12% of all global trade. This is where the hidden hand of the superpowers comes into play. For years, Western nations tried to use sanctions to isolate Eritrea, but Russia and China have systematically dismantled that pressure, transforming Asmara into their primary strategic anchor on the Red Sea. Let's break down exactly what both superpowers are getting out of this sacrifice. First, look at Russia. As the Kremlin faces immense Western pressure, it desperately needs warm water naval access outside of Europe. Following multiple state visits between Afwerki and Putin, the Russian Navy has established regular operations at the port of Massawa, advancing talks for a permanent maritime logistics hub. By backing Eritrea's coastal defense, Russia gains a permanent eye on the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, allowing them to monitor Western naval movements in Djibouti and Project Power directly into the Indian Ocean. While Russia provides the military muscle, China has locked down the economic core. China has completely taken over Eritrea's highly lucrative mining sector. When Western and Australian mining firms divested from Eritrea, Chinese state-backed corporations stepped in, buying out the flagship Kolyulai potash project in the Danakil Depression. Potash is a critical mineral vital for global agricultural fertilizers. The Kolyulai mine is widely considered the world's largest unexploited potash deposit. Once fully operational, this single asset is projected to generate over $200 million annually, completely insulating Eritrea's economy and giving Beijing an absolute chokehold over global fertilizer supply chains. By choosing to protect Eritrea, Russia and China didn't just stumble into an alliance. They made a calculated choice to discard a volatile, landlocked state in favor of an uncompromised coastal fortress. They have shielded Asmara at the UN Security Council with veto power, injected hard currency via state-controlled mining, and provided the advanced electronic warfare and anti-ship missile technology needed to keep Ethiopia's naval ambitions completely grounded. The old Realpolitik proverb states, "Nations do not have permanent friends, only permanent interests." In the brutal new Cold War for the world's maritime choke points, Ethiopia learned that lesson the hard way. It doesn't matter how big your population is or how grand your mega projects are. If you don't control the coast, you don't control the game. And right now, Eritrea is holding all the cards.